Roberto-Venn in the late 1980s. That's when I was there. Um, uh, all I know is that Roberto-Venn is very different now than it was in 1989. I'm sure the curriculum is very similar. Back in those days, you built an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. And if there was time left over, you could build, you could start building another electric or another acoustic. Um, Back then, I was so impatient and that I knew for a fact I wanted to build more than just one. So I started to, I built my very first one. Well, I built the guitars I was supposed to build. Okay, so I built an acoustic. It was a 12 string, and I built an electric. It was essentially a Strat with a 3 on a side headstock that was very much like a Dan Armstrong headstock, because I was into Dan Armstrongs back then too. Um, and Back in those days, you had to use a specific neck joint on your electric. Obviously, the acoustic had its own kind of specific neck joint too. It also had this funky mustache brace. I don't know if they still use the funky mustache brace on the acoustic anymore. I'd be shocked if they did. Not because it didn't work, but because what probably happened is they probably went back to like a Martin X brace kind of setup, which that's what everybody's used to. The electric was the electric was probably the most memorable for me, mostly because I don't do anything at all like we did at Roberto-Venn in the 80s. In 2024, Texas Toast Guitars doesn't do anything like we did back at Roberto-Venn in those days. So the neck joint was kind of a mortise and tenon, and but it was stood off from the body, kind of like a 335. So there were, you know what I mean? There was like if I was going to make that guitar again today, that's an interesting thing. I wonder if I should remake that guitar. If I was going to remake that guitar today, I would just use a very simple wedge fit neck joint and have a stronger neck and an easier to do neck joint, and it would have looked way better. But I think the whole idea was they wanted you to do something harder than something easier, really more to become skilled at joinery, or maybe just to waste a bunch of time. I don't know. I mean, frankly, we make the guitars at Texas Toast in the now discontinued woodworking workshop. We did in 5 days essentially what I did at Roberto-Venn in a semester, not including the finishing part and not including some of the other stuff. So we wound our own pickups. We made our own pickup boxes. We made our own pickup rings out of wood. You were required to have like at least one, maybe two micro switches. So like everybody built humbucking pickups. So you know how I say that I've wound exactly 4 coils in my lifetime? That was because I built 2 humbuckers at Roberto-Venn. And so here's what I can tell you. The guitars coming from Roberto-Venn that I have seen in the last year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years are radically different than the stuff that we were making back in the late 80s. It's way better. Okay. I don't know why that is, because I've never been back to Roberto-Venn. I think that it's actually an all new location now. I don't think it's on 17th Avenue or whatever in the Quonset hut. Back in those days, there was the main electric guitar, or the main guitar building workshop was a Quonset hut, and then and I wasn't in that. That's where James, the electric guitar builder, was, and on the other side, that's where John Reuter was, and there were, I don't know, let's say 6 benches in between them, 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. And then there was as I recollect, and this has been over 30 years, there was a common table in the middle. And if you went all the way through past where I said that guy James was, that would take you to the outside workspace area where like the bandsaw was, and the shop made thickness sanders, and all the, I think there's a drill press there, some sanders and stuff. Like I said, it's been a while. All that stuff was out there, and so you used all the power tools were done outside. So there's very little, dust collection, sweeping, that kind of thing. Then there was like it wasn't a bomb shelter, but it was a small square on the end of the Quonset hut, and you went down some steps to get there. So I kind of think it was a little bit like a bomb shelter. And it was me and maybe half a dozen other guys all around the perimeter, and we were working there. And then if you went further, it actually took you towards 17th Avenue a little bit more, and that's where the fine woodworking shop was. And I can't really even remember what they were making there, like cabinets probably, stuff like that. They had just a woodworking shop there. But anyway, that's what it was. That's what it used to be like. I can tell you this. The last time I reached out to somebody at Roberto-Venn to see if I could get on the alumni page, they're like, "Well, did you go here?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did." When did you go? 1989. Oh, we don't have records back that far. So they must have like an all new record keeping thing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they did it. I still have my little diploma from Roberto-Venn somewhere floating around, and yeah, I look back on those days very fondly. I had a lot of fun I lived in Tempe, and we drove into Phoenix every day. I had a lot of fun living in Arizona in the 80s. And I have a lot of fond memories of going to that school, and I liked being able to say that I went there. But like I said, guys, I don't do really anything like I was taught at Roberto-Venn in 1989. I suspect that these days you would probably walk out of there with something that's a little more usable. But I don't know. I would love to go back. If any of you guys know anybody at Roberto-Venn who's like there now and in some sort of some sort of capacity that can say, yeah, come on out and come for a visit, I would love to do that. I would love to go out and give like I would really love to go and just kind of talk to the guys and talk to whoever's there. Of course, nobody would remember me. I mean, it's been, like I said, I remember John Reuter because there was only one of him. He's not going to remember me because there was how many guys there 35 years ago and 35 years worth of guys who came after me. So nobody there would remember me, and that's fine. But I would love to go back and kind of be like, hey, there's life after Roberto-Venn. Maybe not right away, but maybe. So yeah, Roberto-Venn. Good memories, and I'm glad I went. And if anybody out there knows anybody operating in official capacity at Roberto-Venn, let them know that your Uncle Matt wants to come back and say hey. I wanna play my guitar, the only